Throughout history, there have been few figures as influential as Napoleon Bonaparte. Despite his average stature, he loomed large in the realm of power and intrigue. Opinions about him vary widely. Some see him as a tyrant, while others view him as a liberator who reshaped Europe and spread the ideas of the French Revolution. The recent movie about him has reignited this debate, highlighting the enduring fascination with his life and legacy. Napoleon's story is one that captivates audiences worldwide, making him one of the most intriguing figures in history. France was in a state of political turmoil following the French Revolution. The revolutionary government had endured various phases, including the Reign of Terror, and eventually gave way to the Directory, a weak and corrupt governing body. While citizens enjoyed more freedom than under the monarchy, the economy was fragile, and the young republic faced constant threats at its borders. Almost every country in Europe hoped for the failure of the experiment of ordinary people ruling themselves. Napoleon Bonaparte, a Corsican, was an ambitious young man destined for greatness. He distinguished himself by ending the siege of Toulon, France's crucial harbor, and played the decisive role in expelling the Austrian Empire from northern Italy. Following the events in Egypt in 1799, another campaign where General Bonaparte technically remained undefeated, he and his brother Lucien Bonaparte, along with several other key figures, orchestrated a coup d'etat to overthrow the Directory. Napoleon collaborated with Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, a prominent politician who had been plotting to overthrow the Directory. Sieyès believed that Napoleon's popularity and military prowess could be leveraged to seize power and establish a more stable government. This might sound reminiscent of the actions of a tyrant overthrowing a government and consolidating power, but it's noteworthy that Napoleon was just one of 3 elected consuls following the success of the coup d'etat. Many both in and out of France were skeptical of whether this military genius could effectively govern. Nevertheless, Napoleon acted decisively. He codified French laws into the Napoleonic Code, which established equality before the law, abolished feudal privileges, and protected property rights. Napoleon centralized administration by creating a hierarchical system of prefects and sub-prefects, which helped streamline governance across France. He established state-controlled education systems, including the foundation of lyceums and the University of France, aimed at producing skilled administrators and loyal citizens. The consul also stabilized the French economy by introducing the Bank of France, implementing a national currency, and imposing new tax systems. In just 3 years, war-weary France transformed into a stable republic capable of challenging those who wished to see it fail. However, there are always 2 sides to the coin, and Napoleon wasn't simply the guardian of the ideals of the French Revolution, as he portrayed himself. In reality, the Corsican consolidated power in the hands of the executive branch, effectively making himself the dominant figure in the government. He controlled the legislature and used referendums to legitimize his policies. He even went as far as to restrict political freedoms by censoring the press, suppressing opposition, and limiting the activities of political parties. One might argue, however, that without these actions, he would have never been able to heal the country's wounds. Although he eventually faced opposition, the average citizens were generally pleased with his work, as he was neither a fanatic like Robespierre nor incompetent like the Directory. Nonetheless, this did not prevent assassination attempts. As mentioned earlier, not all forces within the country were supportive of the new system. On Christmas Eve of 1800, a group of royalist conspirators aimed to kill Napoleon as he traveled to the Paris Opera. The attempt failed when Napoleon's carriage passed the bomb-laden cart moments before it detonated, resulting in the deaths and injuries of bystanders instead of the intended target. This marked the first time Napoleon faced mortal danger outside of a battlefield. However, this event cannot be equated with the assassination of Julius Caesar, as the assailants were royalists rather than democrats. As previously stated, most people were pleased with Napoleon. He ruled with determination, not cruelty.
Following this incident, Napoleon continued to ascend the power hierarchy. In 1804, several key figures, including his brother Lucien Bonaparte and trusted advisors like Talleyrand and Joseph Fouché, advised Napoleon to crown himself Emperor of the French. They believed that establishing a hereditary monarchy would consolidate his power and stabilize France after the turmoil of the French Revolution. A plebiscite was held, with an overwhelming 99.9% of voters supporting Napoleon as their emperor. This leads us to the next point. While manipulating a public vote to rise to power is a typical move by tyrants, it is plausible that Napoleon may not have needed to manipulate the vote, given his widespread popularity at the time. Furthermore, the fact that the people even got to vote was quite unusual for the time. To set the record straight, Napoleon Bonaparte was not simply a pure revolutionary, dedicated solely to spreading the ideals of equality and liberty, nor was he the power-obsessed, narcissistic figure some portray him to be. Throughout Napoleon's reign as emperor from 1804 to 1814, he engaged in more than 40 battles and suffered defeat in only 5 of them. It's important to note that France was consistently the target of declarations of war, rather than the aggressor. While Napoleon did invade Spain, Portugal, and Russia on most occasions, he found himself in the position of defending French interests. However, one could argue that his actions, such as creating the Rheinbund, establishing the Duchy of Warsaw, dissolving the Holy Roman Empire, and annexing territories from defeated nations, served as justifications for further conflict. The monarchs of Europe viewed Napoleon as an illegitimate ruler, lacking divine sanction. Yet, without Napoleon's conquests, the ideals that underpin modern societies might not have spread across Europe as rapidly as they did. Unfortunately, Napoleon often failed to live up to the expectations of those who sought change. For instance, he employed allied German and Polish soldiers to fight in Spain, prioritized French economic interests in conquered territories, and exploited the resources of nations under his control. Many citizens of the German states initially viewed Napoleon as a liberator, only to become disillusioned as they witnessed his policies in action. In 1812, Napoleon launched his ill-fated invasion of Russia with an army of over 500,000 men, representing more than 20 nationalities, with a third of them German-speaking. Despite initial successes, the campaign resulted in mass desertions, casualties, and fatalities due to harsh conditions. By the end of the year, fewer than 50,000 men returned from Russia. Some former allies turned against Napoleon for self-preservation, while others, like the Free Corps, chose to oppose him willingly. Groups such as the Luetzower Jäger initially embraced the changes brought by the French, viewing Napoleon as a liberator from centuries of aristocratic oppression. However, disillusionment grew as they realized that peace under Napoleon meant exploitation rather than improvement. Ironically, the uniform colors of these Free Corps, black with golden buttons and red lapels, later became emblematic of democratic Germany. So, to sum all of this up, Napoleon was not a tyrant. In terms of power, he was not significantly different from any of the other European monarchs. Were they tyrants? No. They were placed in a position of power from birth, while Napoleon had to fight for this position, which is why he was an excellent target for propaganda. So, was Napoleon a liberator? Yes and no. Many liberal factions considered him one at first, but he failed to rule as a liberator, not just fight like one. For now, we'll call him a liberator with flaws. I hope you found this video insightful and thought-provoking. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and used it as inspiration for your thoughts on the matter. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.